Good morning. Welcome into another edition of Let's Bet It. I'm Alex Glaze, joined by Mark Zinno. Zinno, you kind of had us all laughing yesterday on Twitter following your thread with your adventures with your twins at the Yankee game.
Yeah.
I didn't see the final total though. Did you end up going over or under your your money total that you said? Explain what I'm talking about for people that don't know. Yeah.
Just for some background. I'm up here in New York with the family, and I'm raising my kids as Yankee fans because I'm a Yankee fan and I want them to be winners. From that standpoint, I took them to their first Yankee game at Yankee Stadium. They've been to other Yankee games before in away ballparks, but first time I'd been to the stadium. Of course, New York is more expensive than everywhere else. So I threw out there on Twitter that between the total cost of what I was going to spend actually in the stadium, not including ticket prices, parking, but what I spent in the stadium, food, concessions, of course, I have to buy two of everything because I have twins and for myself. And so I just set a sort of varying total of around $375.50 and asked people to decide whether they'd go over or under. And quickly, the over was hammered by many of the betting public, the pseudo betting public on the thread on Twitter at Mark Zinno. And I just kind of waited it out and said, okay, let's see what happens. I knew at some point, because I had taken my kids to baseball games before, that they were going to have a rash of I want this, I want that, and every food that their eyes saw they were going to want. The one change here was that they were at the game with all of their cousins, so they had people to entertain them. They didn't eat out of boredom. They didn't want to get stuff out of boredom because they had friends there with them to talk with and go back and forth. Plus, they spent most of the innings, in between innings, running down the steps to the field to try and get Aaron Judge's autograph in between innings, of which I tried to explain to them that he was not going to come over during the middle of the game and sign an autograph for you. So after getting to understand that, I ended up going under for two main
Ooh,
reasons.
there we
One,
go.
again, I think their cousins being there distracted them from eating out of boredom and seeing that somebody had an ice cream, somebody had a hot dog, somebody had this and wanting on to that. And the other part is that I didn't get to drink that much. Now we had a whole family there, so I wasn't driving or anything. I could have drank a lot more, but just because I'm corralling children nonstop, and I had my nieces and nephews there, like I only got to order one drink for myself. So I was behind my normal drink curve of where I wanted to be throughout the game. But it was a ton of fun, and they didn't go crazy in the souvenir shop. I had to convince them I wasn't buying them an $850 Aaron Judge signed baseball helmet. And that took some persuading, dad persuading, basically saying no and pulling them away from the helmet and saying, go find something else. But yeah, they really wanted the Aaron Judge signed baseball helmet. So
Well, why wouldn't they?
they
Why wouldn't they assume that you're going to buy that for them? If it sounds like you don't say no to much, so I mean,
I don't
might as well shoot
listen
your
when it
shot,
comes
right?
to I say no a lot as a parent in the home, but when it comes to experiences, like in going out and doing things, I almost never say no. But I wasn't going to spend $850 on an Aaron Judge signed helmet because then there would have been a fight over whose helmet it actually
Whose
is.
helmet it is, and
It's
then
just
well,
yeah,
just buy two of them. I mean,
yeah. Well, considering there wasn't two on the actual thing, there was only one. It was just
there we go,
so
there we
we
go. You're
settled
off
on
the
some
hook.
backpacks and some pennants and some mini bats. But
Okay.
we went under. We stayed around 300, so we went under, and everybody thought it was going to go way over. So that was
Oh,
the tale of Zeno and his kids at a baseball game.
that's great. Sounds like a good time. All right, well, let's get into
Well,
today's show. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the Pickswise YouTube channel and let us know in the comments what picks you're on. And if you have any questions, also subscribe to the Pickswise morning newsletter, Wise and Shine. It comes out to your email every morning with all kinds of great information, and so that you don't have to look anything up and you get all of it sent right to you and get you prepared for your day of betting. And make sure you download the Pickswise app, available on the Apple App Store and on Google Play as well. On today's show, Zeno, the Hawks made a big move ahead of NBA free agency, which is just a few hours away, and we're going to break that down. We're going to get John Laghezza of The Athletic to join the show and talk some baseball. We got some Wimbledon picks, or you have some Wimbledon picks, and we're going to finish things off with our plays of the day. And I believe, I could be wrong here, but I think we're going to be touching on the WNBA in the plays of the day. A little teaser there for the first time. So that's something to look forward to as well. So without further ado, let's bet it. And let's start with the NBA. We're just hours away from the official start of NBA free agency, but the Atlanta Hawks have reportedly already made a big move. News broke yesterday evening that the Hawks have traded Danilo Gallinari, and 3 future first-round picks to the Spurs in exchange for DeJounte Murray. So, Zeno, the Hawks add a guard who led the league in total steals last year and was one of, I believe, 5 players to average 20 points and 8 assists last season, along with Trae Young. So Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, 2 of the 5 players to do that last season. And not to mention, he's a walking triple-double as well. One of the guys that, you can almost blindly bet every now and then to get you a triple-double. What does this addition mean for the Hawks?
Well, it means they have, if not the best, the second best backcourt in all the Eastern Conference, which is always a good starting spot for building a championship level team. But that said, I've continued to ask the question as I sit here in Atlanta, and I've asked this to all Hawks fans. Whatever move you're going to make, ask yourself objectively, does this make you one of the top 3 teams in the East? Because in reality, that's what it's going to you're going to have to have a shot at getting to the Eastern Conference Finals again and getting to the NBA Finals and winning a championship. And right now, as the team is currently constructed, I would still say no. I mean, the Hawks are going to have to do some work here to figure out. Both of these guys, according to stats, have the ball in their hand 100% of the times. They don't play any other position other than point guard, right? They are the generals and facilitators of the offense. So there's going to have to be some work done on how you get Trae off ball or DeJounte Murray off ball, and I think that may take some figuring out. But I think they will get it figured out. That said, I think right now, after the addition of DeJounte Murray, that the Hawks are maybe the 5th or 4th best team in the East. I think it catapults them over Toronto. I don't know if it catapults them over Brooklyn because they're such a wild card, given the whole mess they have with Ben Simmons still, and how consistent, how good are they going to be? From a talent standpoint, no, it doesn't. But from a productivity standpoint and a consistency standpoint, they may be better than Brooklyn. But I don't think they're better than Boston, Milwaukee, or Miami at this point in time yet. Could they be better than Philadelphia? Maybe. Well, but still, that's where I can see them.
Yeah, Jared and I were talking about this the other day about betting these NBA futures. One before the trade deadline, two so far out. After this move, as of right now, the Hawks plus 2,400 to win the East on FanDuel. That's 8th best odds, behind the Bucks, Celtics, Nets, Sixers, Heat, Bulls, and Raptors. I look at that and I think that the Hawks to win the East, that's more interesting to me than the Hawks title odds, which went from plus 9,000 to plus 5,000. So clearly this move has impacted how odds makers are looking at the Hawks. Does it change how you view the Hawks? Or because honestly, this is a move that Travis Schlenk deserves a lot of credit for being able to pull this move off and keep John Collins on the roster. I mean, granted, I think that the Hawks aren't done, right? We've seen the reports of, they're still trying to shop John Collins around, and there could be more moves to come here. Are you interested in the Hawks at plus 5,000 to win it all, or plus 2,400 to win the East? I'm kind of interested in 2,400 to win the East. I'm kind of interested in that.
No, I'm not. No? I'm nowhere near it. I think it's setting your money on fire, and especially since, again, with them probably still trading John Collins, and we don't know what they're going to get in return. At this point, betting the Hawks is not a smart move because there's definitively all signs indicate that there's going to be another move made. And what they're going to get in return for that and who else they're going to give up along with Collins and how it's all going to work, it's not a smart bet right now. Like the only smart bet right now, and oh, by the way, I may do this with what's remaining in my New York betting account here while I'm in New York, since I faded you. I should have faded you the other day when I didn't, even though I got in the chat and told everybody I was going to fade you, and I didn't fade you. I backed you, and I ended up losing money. I'm just rubbing it in because I love you.
You back me,
I may just put it on. Yeah, yes, both of you. I may put it on the Milwaukee Bucks right now to win it all, just because still them at plus 750 is an incredibly insane number. And that there are other teams in front of the Milwaukee Bucks right now to win the title next year, I think is an incredibly insane number. So that may be the wisest bet you can make as far as NBA futures right now is concerned. In my opinion.
Before we switch gears to baseball, my only pushback for you saying that this Hawks bet would be a bad bet because of the pending moves that could be coming, it's clear that the Hawks are in win now mode, right? Like they're making moves to win now. They're not building for a future per se. They want to be contenders right now this year. So I think that plus 2,400, that's an interesting price. Interesting price for me. All right, let's move on and talk some baseball. Let's bring in John Laghezza of The Athletic as we switch gears and we get ready for a full slate of baseball tonight. And John, welcome into the show. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time.
Alex and Mark, what's up, guys? Good morning. Thanks for having me.
How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
Oh, excellent, man. Always. Come on. Coming up the chair, as always. Up before the crack of dawn, as always, man. The way you got to be if you're going to cover baseball, right? You really got to love it, or it's not sustainable. It kind of catches up to you. We know there are inherent downturns as far as betting goes, and whatever keeps that fire lit, man, keeps me going. That's what I live for this.
Is this a New York accent I'm hearing? Is that what I'm hearing?
Brooklyn, born and bred, baby. What keep it
All
up?
right, well,
now you're officially outnumbered by New Yorkers on the show. So there's that.
yeah. Well, we're not going to talk some Yankees. Let's start with some Mets news, though, because both the Mets and Padres got some encouraging news on the injury front the past couple of days with their key players. Which one of these two teams, John, as we look at them, which team to you makes you more confident in taking the next step as their players return? Because the Mets right now, I mean, they got the Braves surging up behind them right now in the East, right? It seemed like they were going to run away with this thing, and now not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should always preface it with, especially in baseball, a single player generally doesn't move the needle. Now, you've talked about two scenarios where that might be the case. Tatis is one of the few players on offense that can do that, but the answer to your question is easily the let's go, Mets go. I'm not sure we've ever seen, at least in my lifetime, a team add two impactful pieces on the pitching side like we've seen the Mets are about to. I mean, assuming everything goes correct, Scherzer is throwing, he's ready to go. DeGrom threw some bullpens, he's ready to go. So let's assume by mid-August, both of the old men, a little bit long in the tooth, but the Mets are only going to need, 15 starts out of these guys. They could easily get it. Wow, talk about a game changer. I don't know how you keep up with the Mets at this point, really. And that's from Yankee born and bred, man. I mean, not only is my son's nursery, my bloodline is pinstriped for sure.
That's funny.
See?
That's funny.
There you go. That's how it is.
Well, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your betting style, John? Because I'm looking at some of the questions we got for you here, and we're talking some first fives, and I love a good first five bet. But what are some of your favorite bets to make, and what do you generally look for when you're making a baseball wager?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I'm looking for are positive odds. In baseball, given the infinite amount of opportunities, there's always a game going on. There's no need to pay juice and get caught up in a place where you need a very high win percentage to be sustainable. That being said, the thing I really like the most, like you said, at F5 Bets, I've covered this at The Athletic in detail, generally because in betting, I think the best thing that we can do, given that we don't control the outcomes, is try and control the amount of variables. And I think it's pretty much a given. Bullpens are the wonkiest of all the variables in baseball. Not only is the usage variable and variant in itself, but the actual production, because we don't know what we're going to get in such small samples. So in an F5 bet, we know what we're getting, at least as far as the pitcher, the physical being. For an F5 bet, we know we're getting the starting pitchers. 99% of starters go 5 innings, or at least the ones that we're starting. So that's where we want to be. Eliminate the variables, and then we can expand on that. In a case where there's a push, you get your money back. Let's put it this way, gentlemen. Let's say you're a slight favorite. You bet the Yankees. They're tied after 5. Don't you want your money back anyway? Like, you really wanted to be ahead after 5 if you had a favorite. So, and then we can expand even further. If you identify a pitching advantage on the underdog side, you can actually cash that ticket. A lot of people don't know about this. The F5 run line is a plus half run. So you can cash your ticket on a tie game. And in a spot like today with the Reds, where I think the public they attach narratives, and there are biases that come with the perception of a team like the Reds, and they think the Reds stink. Well, maybe the Reds do stink, but today I believe they have a pitching edge for 5 innings, and I'm going to get plus money. And guess what? I'll probably cash a ticket in a 1-1 game. And to me, it's that simple. I don't want the emotional capital. Listen, guys, I know this is stuff you guys talk about, sustainable betting practices. Aside from financial capital, I should say. There's emotional capital. I don't want to chase a game for 3 hours, ups and downs, bullpens, home runs, who stinks, who doesn't. I want to be in bed by then. F5 bets, 7 p.m. You take your win, you take your loss, you take your push, and I'm in bed before I'm done reading Dr. Seuss. My bets are cashed. I don't want to be up till 2 a.m. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, from somebody who's betting first inning over-unders religiously this year, I certainly understand the pain of taking a quick bullet to the back of the head or cashing a ticket by 7:15 and getting the hell out of there. But spoken like a true Yankee fan who has watched his managers over the years butcher the bullpen whole game. So now I understand why you go for first fives, because Aaron Boone is just awful, and Joe Girardi was terrible at it for years. So the only guy who was really good at it was Joe Torre, and that's because he had Mariano Rivera. But we digress. A team like the Chicago White Sox now, and I've been imploring people, and everybody's been asking me about futures for the AL Central on Minnesota and Cleveland and where they are. And I kept stressing to people there is only one bet you should make from a value standpoint in the AL Central, and that's the Chicago White Sox at plus money, given how much of a heavy favorite they were to win the AL Central at the beginning of the year. That's where all the value is. You lost value on Cleveland and on Minnesota, considering they were, plus 900, plus 1,000 at the beginning of the year. Now that's, you're down to a 125 and 140 in that range. Are you still willing to back the White Sox to win the AL Central?
My answer is no, but I really don't want to disagree with your most pertinent point, which is the value point. So I believe that you're really correct there. And that's something that I wanted to kind of preface first, that if you're looking for value, the value certainly is with the White Sox. That being said, pitching being at the 4, Lucas Giolito and the fastball in particular has been a major problem. This is something that I've kind of made my bones with now, as we've got this new understanding of the ball in flight, Hawkeye and StatCast and these things, understanding not just outputs but input stats. Giolito's really had some major problems. It's not just velocity. It's spin rate, it's vertical movement, it's horizontal movement. He's not getting the ride that he needs, the ball. And so that kind of leads to our understanding. If a pitcher expects a fastball to tail to the black, and it doesn't because he's lost that tail, it's ending up where? Middle. And where does that ball end up? Subsequently in the seats. So Lucas Giolito, which must be at the center of this White Sox push, right? I think that would be something we could agree on. If we think the White Sox are to succeed, it must be with Luke Giolito at the helm every 5 days. He can't have a 6 ERA. They're not going to win the division like that. So if he corrects it, then I think I could back the bet. But until he turns it around, I'm a bit worried.
Let's talk about some of our plays that we have. And John, I'll start with you because, listen, we started talking about walk props recently. I don't think we've had total bases on this show yet. So you got 2 total bases picks. So why don't you educate us on those picks that you're on today?
Okay, just really quickly, the first thing we love about them is the plus money odds that they all tend to come at. These are I don't even know what you want to call it. It's kind of an output or a function of a home run tracker that I built. I built a home run model that was doing very well until the ball's been getting made of wet hair. And the odds for these home run props at plus 300 were no longer viable, but I realized that they were hitting in total bases. So here, let's get one. I'm going to draw it up for you, and I'll give you an idea of what we're looking at. So, okay, let's go to Philadelphia against Ian Anderson. We're going to look at Rhys Hoskins to start. So over 1.5 total bases. Remember, walks do not count, so that's very important. Ian Anderson, the 750 OPS of the year, 11% walk rate, 52% first strike. So he's falling behind. He's forced to come inside. And again, he struggled with the fastball. So let's get granular. Right-handed hitters on the year, right? So that's the vast majority of hitters. Have a 291 batting average, 840 OPS, and now to the fastball. 500 X slug with only a 15% whiff rate. That's not any good, and Hoskins has been excellent as of late. His last 75 plate appearances against righties. He has a 313 batting average, 940 OPS. But here is where the math comes in. He has a 250 ISO. And now ISO is the number we want to be looking at for total bases. The reason is this. Isolated slugging is a measure of extra bases. So when you hear a 250 ISO, he has a 25% extra base rate in that span. So if he's going to hit in the top third of the lineup, and we think Philadelphia might score, we're going to get him a 5th at bat. And if we're expecting an extra base hit, 1 out of every 4, and we get 5 at bats, and the bet is at plus money, there you could see how we can provide a sustainable pathway to making money. I mean, quite literally, yesterday we're getting Julio Rodriguez at plus 135. You get unbelievable hitters in unbelievable spots at great odds. And again, if you have 2 of them in a single night and you only hit 1 of them, you're gaining 35%. Talk about needing a low win rate for a big payoff. And that's what I'm all about. That's really at the function of it. I've been betting for a very long time, and I don't pretend to predict the outcomes. I don't pretend to predict the winners. I just put myself in strong probabilistic scenarios. And I really believe these total base props are a great way to do that.
Awesome. And Zeno, you're on a K prop tonight, I believe, and I am as well.
Yeah,
So
much like oh, sorry, go ahead, Glaze.
Go ahead. No.
I was going to say, much like John, I am somebody, and you know this, Glaze, when it comes to K props, I'm not going to pay juice. It's not a situation that I look at. There's way too much variance. Again, I always look at that stupid little box that's on the screen on TV, and the ball goes outside of it, or the ball lands inside of it, and the umpire calls it a ball, and you end up with a walk instead of a strikeout. I can't live in that kind of variance world. But when I get a plus 125, my eyebrows are always going to peak up a little bit. And that's what we get with Mitch White of the Dodgers, a reliever turned starter here. Now, he's gone over 4.5 in 2 of his last 3 starts. Relievers generally live by the strikeout. They're not pitch to contact guys. And so when you have a starter turned reliever, I look for that scenario because they want to front load their stuff and they want to pitch early. So this is a guy over the month of June as a starter, his average a strikeout per inning, and against a Padres team that strikes out more on the road than they do at home this year. So with the Dodgers coming back home against what I think is going to be a low-scoring game with Joe Musgrove on the mound, I think strikeouts will be paramount here. Let's see if Mitch White can't get above that 4.5 number and stay consistent with what his numbers have been as a starter this year. But at plus 125, I'm not going to pass up the value.
I like that. I'm laying a little bit of juice with my K prop today. I don't know what to make of this guy. JT Brubaker, over 4.5 strikeouts, going against the Brewers. They're kind of a middle-of-the-road strikeout team, right? But Brubaker's gone over this number in 4 straight games. It kind of feels like he's turned a corner because John, what do you make of a guy like JT Brubaker? I don't know what to. Go ahead.
I'm excited
I don't know
about
what to
this.
make.
That's actually a good lead. We didn't plan this. We just actually ended up being simpatico on this. This is something that I've been covering on my daily show. I like to mine the advanced statistical leaderboard. Now, again, kind of as a nerd with this stuff. I have access to stats that maybe not everyone else does. And then I have access to time sort these things, which matters, especially with pitchers. If they change an arm angle, add a pitch, add velocity, it's not to say we don't care about the past, but the more recent info is more pertinent because that is the new trajectory. So here, let's get out the electron microscope really quick on Brubaker, and I'll give you an idea what I'm talking about. Just some of the things that we like to look at. Brubaker, as of late, and this is actually season to date, his CSW, so that's called strikes plus whiffs, is over 28.5, which is excellent. His whiff rate is 27, which is excellent. His shadow rate, which again, we don't hear a lot of people talk about. These are location metrics, is up near 42%. Where being at like 38 is average. He's well above average, living around the edges, and that has really helped him out. And I'll give you one more stat that a lot of people are not talking about that I believe, as K-props begin moving to the fore, is his foul ball percentage. Brubaker is one of the league leaders, say that 3 times fast, in reducing foul balls at 15%. The average is in the low 20s. So he is, quite literally as good as it gets. And that is one of the most important things for me, if I was going with K-props, would be foul ball percentage, because those are wasted pitches. And if every pitcher, let's assume he gets 100 pitch workload, every pitch is 1%. Those 3 foul balls is 3%. That's a very big deal. This becomes actionable information. So Brubaker, if you ask me, when we kind of get to the underpinnings, that's a K-prop that you could get behind. Those are the things that we want to look at. The first strike rate up near 60%. The chase rate is better than average, up near 33%. So I could get behind those numbers.
So you're telling me you like my K-prop better than Zeno's? That's what that's what you're telling me.
I just don't. Well, guys, gentlemen, I avoided doing it, but I'm going to do it because you mentioned juice 3 times. I'm allergic to juice. I just start scratching like a maniac. You know what? And this is just me. I have a written plan because my betting comes from Wall Street. So if you want to succeed on Wall Street with infinite opportunities, you need a written plan. And I'm not saying that it's wrong because again, it's not right or wrong. It's just different. I drew my own personal line at -130, really -135. So I won't go to -140 ever. So really, that's my answer. If you ever ask me about a bet that's -140,
-126 on FanDuel. So
all right, maybe I could get there. But I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to lean the other way. And the last thing is why, because I love the 4.5. I just love that it's low. It's a low number. I generally would not chase a plus over 7.5. Let's say those are very hard to achieve for all the reasons you mentioned before.
Absolutely. All right, well, John, we appreciate your time. That's John Laghezza of The Athletic Baseball Writer. Really appreciate your time. A lot of great information. And listen, you get in the weeds. You were in the weeds, man. With the
that's the background. You see it, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Hold on. What was that stat? Because Jared, I don't even think has ever talked about that. What was it? A shadow rate? What?
Yeah, right. So I like to use location metrics, and my long story short would be, I don't believe when we talk about pitchers allowing contact, I believe hard contact allowed is generally a function of poor command. And I've been able to backtest this to a certain extent. And we see that in heart and shadow rates, right? So shadow is the yellow box on Savant. Heart is the pink box in the middle. And if you want, you can kind of check out my show. These are a lot of the granular things I like to get into that I think is going to matter as we get into K props and prop betting in general, which really is very laser focused, right? So I think the data we want to use should be laser focused.
Awesome. John, appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll have you back on.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Zeno, let's switch gears and talk Wimbledon. You have a Wimbledon play that you would like to give out to the people. So why don't you talk to them? Let us know what you're looking at.
Sure. Again, let's remind that our expert went with my pick over yours. And let's also remind the audience that...
Did he though? Hold on. Did he go with your pick over?
No,
because he set the line like 1 minute. I think he was missing 4.
You about where... Totally fine. You know I love you.
I mean, I heard him say nothing but glowing things about my pick. We'll see. I mean, yours obviously was, you got the plus money, you have everything on your side. But 4.5. I mean, we'll see. I mean, now we got something to talk about later.
I love talking smack with you, but let's hope we both cash here. Okay, that's the main goal for everybody involved. Yeah, but strangely enough, I might turn into a tennis handicapper. I'm 3-0 my Wimbledon pick so far on the show, and I may just call it quits if I go 4-0 and be done with it. But we are going to another games prop here, so to speak. Simona Halep -5.5 games over Kirsten Flipkens. Flipkens has been on the tour forever, and she hasn't been very successful. Simona Halep obviously has had a great measure of success, and she is one of those sort of outside fringe favorites to win Wimbledon, where she's played very well throughout her career. So Halep is a huge ground stroke player, and she can pound you into the ground literally and beat you that way. And so I really would have loved this number at 4.5. I would have felt a lot more comfortable because it gets me 6-3, 6-3 gets me home. Is where we need to be. It would a 6-4, however, would not get me home when it's 5.5 as it would at 4.5. But I trust Halep enough here as the better player, even though Flipkens, like I said, has been on the tour forever. She's been on a pro since 2003. It has not gone. I'm sorry, 2013, not 2003. She'd be really old. 2013. I still like the game better from Halep here. So I'm going to back her at -5.5 games. Like I said, 6-3, 6-3 gets me home. If Halep drops a set, it's going to be really, really tough, but I don't think she will.
So 3-0 as a tennis handicapper. How are you?
All at plus money, by the way. All at plus money, I might add.
Not today, though. Not today. So you're playing it safe today. You're playing it safe. So you really
Well,
you're just looking for the ball to go through.
My thought was, since I had a little extra cash in the bank on Wimbledon picks, that I would take some of that extra money I earned from the positive money and put it into the juice on a higher percentage play.
Now you got 2 Aaron Judge signed helmets to purchase, so you need to keep cashing these bets, right? Christmas will be here before you know it.
Oh, man. I can't even tell you what happened yesterday after the game. One of my sons just broke out into tears because Aaron Judge hadn't come up to him and signed a baseball yet. I tried to explain to him it doesn't work that way. But nonetheless, yeah. So,
Oh my gosh, yeah. Kids got to learn how the world works one way or the other. That's he
yeah.
learned a life lesson. Life lesson.
So at this
But
point,
is that
I figured out for their birthday, I'm buying them Aaron Judge signed something. So thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
we hold on. So we have a question in here from Justin, and Justin just kind of read my mind. You've heard the Cal Ripken story with me, right? This isn't the origin of Aaron Judge villain story in your son's mind, because you're
I
at a
hope not.
baseball game, he's not going to get the autograph. It's not like he had the one-on-one opportunity to get Aaron Judge's autograph and was turned down.
No, he never did, and he didn't understand. He doesn't understand it. Like during the game, they can't come over and talk to you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. This isn't a villain. This isn't a villain origin story here. This is just a kid not getting an autograph.
Let's hope
Cal
not.
Ripken.
I mean, let's hope not. I
Well,
don't.
listen,
I don't
but who
know.
knows? However, he took it. Maybe he internalized it completely different, and maybe that's just. I mean, listen. Maybe that's his reality. I don't know. We'll find out in the coming years when he admits,
We will.
or at Christmas time when he gets the Aaron Judge signed something and he says, "Dad, I don't like Aaron Judge." Maybe that's what you. All right, let's get out of here with our plays of the day. Zeno, do we have a 3-star play on the website that we want to?
We do. We have a horse racing pick from Martin Pennington and an MLS pick from Luke Lindholm. Of course, Diane Knox-Ball's golf picks for the John Deere Classic are still up there as well. So go check those out. Or go to Pickswise.com for all 3-star plays of the day.
Love it. All right, what's your play?
I'm on a little bit of a Burr, it's cold in here, Nerfy streak. It has not been fun as of late, but I got to go back to the well because I trust my process here. Let's go to L.A., where the San Diego Padres will match up with the Los Angeles Dodgers here. Both of these teams in the top 10 in Major League Baseball in opponent first inning run scored percentage, so they're very good at limiting first inning runs. Joe Musgrove on the mound for San Diego, one of the top starters in the league, and he's only given up a first inning run just once since May 1st. That's 9 starts, and he gave it up to the Cubs, who were the number 1 team in baseball in first inning runs scored. He's got a 0.95 whip, which means he's not going to put runners on and give away free passes to a very good offensive team, and that's why the Dodgers are 4th in MLB in first inning run scored percentage. But they have scored in the first inning in 2 of their last 3 against Colorado, and they're actually better at scoring in the first inning on the road than they are at home. Give me a little baseball regression here for the Dodgers, who start Mitch White, again, reliever turned starter. These are guys that I love in this prop because they front load their best stuff and want to get out early to a good start. He has not allowed a first inning run in 3 of his 4 starts since he's turned to the starting rotation. Minus 113. Very solid price here, a Nerfy for the Dodgers and Padres.
Love it. All right, I'm going to the WNBA. We got one game on the slate tonight. We got the Atlanta Dream on the road at the New York Liberty. Liberty beat the Dream by 12 points last week, and that's a game where Atlanta was actually favored. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 points with the Liberty tonight because I'm not really sure that a whole lot has changed between now and last week, right? There is some news coming out, though, that Tiffany Hayes is listed as probable for tonight's game, which would obviously be a big boost for Atlanta, but she hasn't played all season, so I'm not really sure how big of a factor she's going to be in this game and how big of a role she's going to have in this game. But I'm looking at these two teams, and they're just going in the complete opposite directions, right? Atlanta started off the season really hot, has kind of been on like a downward spiral. Liberty started off real slow, and they've been on an absolute heater. 4-1 against the spread. The Liberty are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games, and I'm just looking at this as a game where at this Dream team that's just struggled on the road this season. Get this, the Dream 3-6 on the road this season, right? Straight up, which sounds bad, but they've actually lost each of their last 6 games. So they started out 3-0, and they're now 0-6. So they're just not a good road team. These are 2 defensive teams. And again, I'm just looking at last week. Liberty beat them by 12 points, and not a whole lot has changed in 1 week's time. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 points with the Liberty tonight as, I believe, my first WNBA play of the season. So let's get it going.
Yeah.
How about that?
I mean, this is classic Glaze right here. Dumpster diving, going to find the strangest of PODs out there that absolutely is going to hit.
Well, hold on. I will say that before I settled on just laying the points with the Liberty. If we want to really get into it, then I wouldn't consider this a dumpster trap. This is just a regular game. I was in the dumpster because I was going to go Liberty under 82.5 points. That would have been something that would have just been incredible. But I decided, no, we're gonna keep it simple with the first WNBA play. Just go straight up and just go with the Liberty and lay the 4.5 points. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Well, all right. Well, that'll do it for us today. For Zeno, I am Alex. What? You want to get a last word in? Go ahead. What do you have to say?
No, I was just going to say this is a classic tail glaze spot. I'm not fading you today. I will tail you. This is one of your specialties. You and I have been doing this a long time together. This is one of your specialties where you go in there and you find something that nobody else is looking at, and it cashes for you. So I'm actually propping you up.
Well, guess what? I'm going to be watching the game as well, so we can chirp about our baseball plays. We can chirp about the WNBA. I believe the game tips at 7 tonight, so we got a lot to talk about coming up later on tonight. But we'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Good luck with all your plays tonight.